Welcome back. I'm Zephyr, and this is my Diablo 2 mod. And this will be a backdrop to the channel for a while, unless I find a game that I really enjoy and want to show off and talk about. I love Diablo 2, and it was my first major modding experience that I just kind of fell in love with long before my Salt and Sanctuary work, which many of you may know me for. So I'm just going to talk about some of the different things here. There's also notes below. There's an overview of kind of the more the global goals and effects, and then there's the more detailed individual stuff. So one thing is that stats are standardized. And they were standardized last time, but I've reduced them even further. So you get 2 health per vitality, and you get 2 mana per spirit. So you can see that I have very little health, very little spirit, or mana. The other thing is attack rating is now very different. So I've removed the level comparison part of the attack rating, as well as the 2x multiplier that cancels it out. So it was attacker's level divided by the sum of the attacker's level and the defender's level times 2, which would mean that if you were the same level as the enemy, this would cancel out to a multiplier of 1.0. That is gone, and now it is purely a defense versus attack rating formula. It's the same values, so the attack rating over the defense, the sum of the defense and the attack rating of the defender. The attack rating of the attacker and the defender. Defense, naturally. So you can see that I have 90% chance to hit these fallen. They have just a little bit more armor than default. Everything has a little bit more attack rating and armor. Some things don't work perfectly. I've been testing mages, as everything uses attack rating in this game. This mod, kind of like Grim Dawn, or in essence like Diablo 1 a little bit. Diablo 1 used a magic attack rating system for magic spells and a physical attack rating system for physical attacks. I don't have the capacity to do that here. So everything just uses attack rating. These fireballs are way faster. That's apparently how fast they are in Hell difficulty mode. But I carried it forward. Since I do have very little health, and apparently I've already leveled up. Now I'm at 42 health. And a sash. That's really funny for my first item. That's nice. So I do have negative stats in this mod. I really enjoy the risk-reward and identifying and not knowing what's about to happen aspect. A little bit more like traditional rogue. Definitely more like Diablo 1. If you've ever played Diablo 1, they have all these negative stats. For stuff like magic items, you're usually not going to worry about it too much. But when you start getting rares that have multiple random stats, you could get one really big or multiple negative effects that really hurt you. And so you have to make the trade-off. I like trade-offs and I like resource-based gameplay. Potions are nerfed even from the last time I played the mod. I will note that my arrows are infinite. There's a code edit there. I'd rather arrows be based on durability, but I can't do that in Diablo 2. That's how Diablo 1 worked. So I love durability in this game. Actually, for real. I wish I could make ethereal arrows or, you know, adjust some of how the ethereal calculation works and things like that. But I have adjusted some aspects of ethereal. So 20% chance to be ethereal every time an item drops instead of the normal 5% that the vanilla game has. Reduced healing drops and potions in general do fall off a lot harder than the original game. There are no full rejuvenations. There are only regular rejuvenations. So in the late game, you can take the super healing potions are something like 70 health plus 50% of your max, or you can take which heal over 5 seconds, or you can take the rejuvenations, which are 35% of both health and mana, and are instant, much like the potions in Diablo 1 were instant. And they were always instant in Diablo 2. The rejuve potions were. Okay, this is really annoying. Were Fallen always this annoying? Because I swear they weren't, but they probably were. Having even basic armor is going to be a huge boon to our character. I am going to put some instant health in here just so that I am a lot healthier. Named enemies have a 10% chance of dropping uniques and similar chance of dropping rares and sets. But the rares and the sets and the uniques are over time going to be kind of nerfed. Rares have a chance of having negative values, and sets will be adjusted as well, like uniques. I think sets should be generally a little bit more common than uniques, so that you can actually put them together. And we got kind of nothing. I do expect to eventually make it so that enemies drop a lot less stuff. So you're getting high rarities, but you're getting less stuff. You've got to make decisions on, is that worth wearing? Is it worth selling? Most likely it's worth selling if it's rare. But things being sold in this mod are significantly... Okay. I plan on nerfing this affix, this affix. 2 mana after each kill is kind of broken. And I would like to... I'm just going to throw it away. I'm not even going to sell it. I'm just going to throw it away. I am nerfing a lot of the recovery items in the sense of the potions and the mana per kill. Health per kill is a little bit different. Your health is going to scale more drastically than your mana. And this is true for a lot of games. You're not likely to have 1,000 mana, but you are very likely to have 1,000 health. Depending on what your gear is and stuff. Mana is a lot less common on items, where health is more common on items. So I'm going a little bit of the Torchlight 2 route, where Vitality is a weaker stat. You're still going to want a lot of points into it overall. I love that these fireballs are so much faster. But you're not going to only put points into health. You're going to be struggling to maintain your resources in some fashion, which is the goal. Resource management and decision-based trade-offs. And where is this last couple enemies? Here they are. Pardon my grammar. Who knows what's going on there? So a lot of attack rating has been changed or reduced in effect. That's weird. I have a higher chance in here than I did out there. Okay, where are you? One monster left. Really? bane of my existence. It's probably some really slow zombie in a corner that I didn't see. A lot of the gems have been changed. I don't have any gems yet. And belts don't give armor anymore. I would probably either remove belts or do what I've done and make them more of a utility slot.
Perhaps now this is you have claimed.
We'll take that. Oh, and we'll probably sell some stuff. Like Diablo 1, it's a little bit riskier to identify items because, because they won't always sell back for what they're worth. So this is actually kind of good. I could sell it though. Wow, both of these are light radius. I need to reduce the chance of that. I don't like light radius. Damage reduced by 1. So I like things being chunkier. I'd rather give you a big negative or a big positive or nothing. I'd rather give you something that makes you have to make a decision. Versus, and even if that decision is relatively simple, like I sold this belt, well, it's got a negative on it, I didn't want it. So, obvious decision that I made there, but it screams, hey, check me out. While I'm not like some hardcore Warframe player, I have played Warframe in the past, and I really like the Riven system, where when you get a negative, the others are more positive. You get more value out of the positives. So, currently, when you get a negative in this mod, the level requirement of the item is actually reduced. So there's a 1 to 5 rating, -1 to -5, and that reduces the level requirement by 2. And then if you have the 6 to 10 negatives, then that reduces the level requirement by, I believe, 5. It's hidden, but it will, if an item has a level requirement, it does show that. Can I not use this well when I'm full? That's actually interesting. I didn't know that. 4 to vitality. So there's some more chunky stuff. Obviously this is not so chunky, but the idea of getting something like 10% damage reduction or 4 to vitality. 4 to vitality in this case is just 8 life. But some stats will be scaled elsewhere as well. So something like Blood Golem is probably going to have scaling on vitality, for example. And there's no health stats on normal gear anymore. So you're going to, let's do that. You're going to be focusing entirely on vitality. So there's no kind of split there. In a more AAA fashion, I might have a split there, but I am not a AAA modder or designer or anything like that. Where one item might have a certain amount of health and another item might have more strength or vitality or something as a stat. I am actually more of a fan of having the stats be the primary source of a lot of things. It makes sense. I really liked Warcraft 3's situation with a lot of that as well. Anyway, every named enemy has a 10% chance of dropping something really good. It should be about 10% of a unique, and something similar to a set. Might be a higher ratio of a set, something like 16% for a set.
Not enough mana.
And magic throwing dagger, we've got nothing. And some of the issue there is there might not be a whole lot of stuff that can roll set or rare. Like there's no set throwing dagger that I'm aware of. So if it can't roll a set, then it's not gonna. Skills require less points, so it goes 1, 4, 8, 12, 16, and whatever, 20. So by the end of Act 2, you've unlocked all your skills that you really need to unlock. This is probably excessive, but I like it for the mod. I would probably do something closer to every 5 levels, maybe, if otherwise, or something else. I'm not a fan of the Borderlands skill tree system where you have to invest in it to get down. I like the idea of prerequisites and having less total points required. So in this case, the points required are the prerequisites. You don't need to have prerequisites and, you know, course matriculation or something. I don't know. College. That was a thing. Anyways. Oh, it's just a regular short bow. I'm disappointed. I do have infinite arrows if I didn't mention that before. I'm mentioning it now. I would do durability on bows like Diablo 1, but I can't. Gold drops are a little higher. They might be too high. They're currently 2.5 times what they normally would be in this region. Something like that. Oh, we don't want the Stony Field. We want Bloodraven. So fun fact, Bloodraven is a level 10 enemy. I believe that's correct. Getting a lot of rings. I don't know what's going on there. A lot of little chests everywhere. Let's just check those out. So she can drop some pretty good stuff early on, both in the original game and in here, because of her level. I really hate Fallen. They run away if you kill an enemy near them, which makes them just really annoying. Immune to fire. What are you gonna give me, Bishy Bosh? I'm getting hounded here. It's gonna give me a rare short bow. That is very, very lucky. And now I'm stuck in a mob of enemies. There we go. Getting body blocked. Oh, let's see here. What's some other stuff I can talk about in this mod? Enemies have higher attack rating and defense. I may eventually also increase some enemies' damage, but not everybody's. As some things just hit really, really weakly. I'm gonna go back to town. I want to identify this thing. I'm not a huge fan of things increasing in mana cost, especially if it's like a really tiny amount of mana. I'll wear it. -1? No, -4 dexterity. Oh no, what am I gonna do? Whoops, there's 10 more. So minimum attack damage, 39 attack rating. That attack rating needs to be nerfed. It's a little high. Most attack rating needs to be nerfed. Damage to undead is kind of blaring. The cold damage is going to be huge, though. That's where it comes down to. Everything suddenly being slowed when it gets hit will be valuable. I don't know why I'm getting so many rings. But I reduced the chances of some of that. Reduced the chances of potions. But you're really going to feel it in a different way, because while I reduce the potions, it's not significant enough to notice right away. It's going to be instead a attacks on your belt. You're going to need more potions to just do stuff. Yeah, so sashes and rings just drop way too often. Ooh, 1 vitality. So that's just an unlucky roll. That's a 1 to 5 roll. He's just gonna run away. Fallen were really annoying in the first game, but they were at least, you could deal with them a little bit better. But here, they just spawn in such large numbers that I find them obnoxious and boring. You're generally not going to have any area of effect to deal with them early on, so they basically just scream something negative at you the whole time. Wasting your swings, wasting your attack chances. Just... Will your army destroy me, Bloodraven? I hope not. So she's level 10. She should have a decent chance at dropping a bow. Not guaranteed, but... What's her chance of hitting me?
Not enough mana. I need mana.
Ah, my character is running through all of these. I do have a bow that deals extra damage to undead, so there's something, I guess. Oh my goodness gracious. Can't even get her slowed down. She runs around too much. Does she really drop nothing? Am I just delusional? No, she really drops nothing here. Did I just get really unlucky? So if you've never played Diablo 2, you might not know that these actually are a higher level area. And that's really common to have some of those side areas be a higher level, which allows you to kind of hunt for things if you need to. My helmet is broken. How important is this helmet? Don't care. Any helmet will do at that point. Mana regeneration has actually been increased by like 20%-ish. So how mana regeneration worked in the original game was that over the course of 2 minutes, you would regenerate the value of your mana pool. Okay, we want to go this way. Pardon me, I had to look away for a second there. So mana regeneration has been increased to your mana pool over the course of 100 seconds instead of 120. Why did I do this? Well, one, because it's easier to math out, because as I have it now, for every 1 point of mana, you get 0.1 regen. Or no, 0.01 regen, excuse me. You get what I'm trying to say anyways, hopefully. So at 100 mana, you get 1 regen. Okay, well that's pretty good. So when you get a percentage bonus to this, it is kind of higher and more meaningful. But then because of that, I also want to be very cautious about where I put that percentage bonus. So in something like Dota, or Warcraft 3 for that matter, you might have something like a very similar value, actually. And I think a lot of people didn't know that's how that worked. Oh, geez, this is bad. I don't want to go over there. What do you give me? What do you give me? A dagger. Why would you give me a dagger? Terrible. Okay. Come to me. But this allows me to kind of math it out in my head immediately. But it also lets me understand kind of what I want to do with it. So if you have a chipped skull, as it currently stands at least, oof, light crossbow. I don't have a thing there. Identify scroll. But if you have percentage max, or percentage regen bonus, you're going from something like 0.01 per point, or, you know, 1.0 per 100, however you want to read that. And if you get a 15% bonus value, you're going to have just that much more regen, but it's easier to, I guess, visualize. I don't know. That's the best way I can put that, I guess. I don't... It's easier for me to visualize that way. So I may need to work on those numbers. I'll figure it out eventually. This mod is very much an experimental situation, as are most of my experiences with Diablo 2 modding. Warmth on the sorceress has been changed even since the last video. Previously, I made it so that it always gave 1 mana regeneration at rank 1. It felt too strong in the long run, because it would give 1 mana regeneration, and it would also give like 15%. So, as you hit about 100 mana, you just stopped needing potions entirely, which was actually really quick and easy to do.
Not enough mana.
I don't do enough damage for multi-strike to do anything here. Hey, I can go home if I want. I do what I want. But yeah, the mana on warmth was a little too much for what I was going for. I was trying to buff it a little bit because it's so bad early on, and then it's so good late game, and then you get so many points that are bonuses, plus to skills, so to say, that a lot of passive skills, no one actually levels them up. And as a design point, I do plan on kind of limiting that a little bit more. Limiting it is probably not the best way to put that, but changing up the value of it for some different things. So warmth now always gives something like 0.25 regen or something like that per level. It calculates based on your actual mana and reverses the calculation around. Junk everywhere. And there's not a whole lot here. Probably should go down the thing. So I talk about like chunky game design, and I like the idea of having things be somewhat explicit in what they do, and have the player then decide how to use that explicit design. So for example, I would probably prefer not having a belt slot. I like the idea of like gloves being kind of offensive, and they already are, but they're in this offensive column here. And then boots are kind of in this defensive but utility column here with like, if arrows were able to be magical, which is possible with modding, then, you know, you'd have like arrows being kind of, maybe arrows give movement speed, or maybe they give hit recovery, but they wouldn't give defense so often. Maybe they could roll defense, but they wouldn't be equivalent to a shield, for example. Games like Grim Dawn, and I love Grim Dawn. I give it two thumbs up. So don't take this as a rag on Grim Dawn, but they overcomplicate things a lot. Even early game items often fill the entire screen. If I hover it like this, they'll fill from top to bottom with their effects, and a lot of their effects could have been combined. So, for example. And I think they said that this was actually an engine limitation at one point. But the idea that you get an item and it says fire damage on it, but burning damage wasn't considered fire damage, and then fire damage on pets isn't considered fire damage. And it ends up being that you need now three different phrases to say, hey, fire damage in this case is still fire damage. I just want this scroll of identify, and I want to leave and go away. I can't seem to click on it. There we go. Get rid of these javelins. And Grim Dawn devs have also talked about stuff like having too many damage types. Originally, they were going to have like the Aether damage type and the Chaos damage type locked to enemies. They could do it to you, but you couldn't do it to them. But then eventually you could do it too. And so I am a big fan of damage types. But I think it's really, really easy to overdo them. And Grim Dawn has, I think, like 17 technical damage types. Something like that. Absolutely excessive. This guy's got multi-strike. So even if he misses, he hits. That's the kind of interaction I actually really enjoy in Diablo right there. Is kind of panicking, but not instantly dying. Going around a corner, kind of strafing things. Ow. I am really slow now. So I just want to hover this. Okay, I'll kill you guys first. How about that? Don't do enough damage. Let's put more into dexterity here. What's my attack rating? 87%. So you can see that I have 80 health, and this only heals for 40. I have 33 mana, and this only heals for 18. So these potions fall off almost instantly, and that's actually something I've been messing with in some playtests in preparation for this video, is I wanted the potions to fall off almost instantly. They're really good, and then you hit like level 5 and you've put a few points in and you've gotten your gear up, and suddenly you need 2 of them. Which is kind of similar to how they worked in Diablo 1, except for you don't have full health potions here. And then late game health potions like supers actually only do 50% plus a flat amount. I might change that. Excuse me. I might change that to something like 60%. I'd have to test it. But the idea is that there are no more... There's still critical, I think critical heals and stuff like that. So you don't know how many potions you need. There's no variance on healing though in Diablo 2 otherwise. Now there's class variance, but I've removed that. And so you're going to rely more on your actual health pool or your mana pool. You're going to have sustaining factors like life steal or mana steal and things like that. You have different tools at your capacity to, at your fingertips, to change how you play. And you're still having a shared resource between all classes. It's not Diablo 3 where the barbarian uses fury or whatever. But the barbarian might be able to find, in my mod at least, more items that grant mana on being hit, for example. So if it's mana on being hit, if you're getting mobbed, suddenly you have all the mana you need.
Not enough mana.
And you might not need a whole lot, but... But it's a way to play. And just a comment, some commentary on that. I probably should do a whole video on some of these topics, but commentary here. -2 to spirit. Yeah, so I lose 4 mana. But lightning resist, fire resist, damage reduced by 2. And it's ethereal, but I don't really care about that. I don't want underground passage level 2. I want the exit. Let's put an up point fire arrow. My attack rating is pretty good. My defense is actually pretty good. 69% for them to hit me. That hurts. That's a lot. I'm actually going to put it into spirit and get my spirit up a little bit. Where's that? Well, there it is. In the base game, there's some interesting effects. So these in the mod, as well as in Diablo 2 Resurrected, no longer cause a hit recovery or stagger effect. These used to do kind of a hit recovery effect. But, man, I don't do enough damage or something. But each class kind of had this different way of handling things. So, like, the Barbarian has natural resistances because they don't have a shield, for example. So they don't have a strong access to magical defense, elemental defense. Shouldn't say magical because there is actually no magical defense in Diablo 2. Not really, anyway. And then they have stuff like movement speed, because armor gives negative movement speed. I've removed the armor thing myself. I think melee struggles enough. But this idea, where is that exit? Must be down there. But the idea is that each class had something to offset their design. Basically, you have a bunch of given rules, and then you give the classes tools that they can then decide, or most likely they will, to use those tools to change how the game is played. So in the case of the Barbarian, they can get free resistances. In the case of the Archer or the Amazon here, you can get a second chance at recovery. And it originally kind of acted like a block effect, as block it creates a stagger as well. But whether you're using javelins or arrows or spears, these would give you a chance to dodge an attack, evade an attack, or avoid an attack kind of thing. Each one of these is a different aspect of this. But this is the true dodge chance of Diablo 2, where armor is actually more of an absorption effect, kind of. They don't describe it that way. I will describe it that way, though. When you get hit and the armor makes it so that you don't get hit, I would call that an absorption effect, and the armor should be taking durability loss because of it. That is not how it works, but that's how I think it should work. And if I was able to flip the logic on that, I would. That creates a resource effect on the armor. Anyways, back to how Diablo 2 actually works. The Amazon doesn't have to equip really heavy armor because of these three abilities. Whether she is melee or not, she has those three abilities to potentially avoid an entire system. So she has the armor, which triggers first, and then she has the evasion, which triggers second. I would probably flip those, but again, let's try to stay on track. It's hard for me sometimes. I often record a lot of things at once, and so I get tired, and that's just the time I have. Anyways, not that I'm complaining. I like recording. So the Barbarian has natural resistances. Our Amazon has this kind of second chance at evasion that's not armor related. So she doesn't have to use heavy armor to be as, so to say, defensive. In the original game, of course, this did trigger a hit recovery effect, which meant that you needed hit recovery to offset the strength of this bonus. What is this, a wolf head? I don't care. Both in my mod and in Diablo 2 Resurrected, they have removed the hit recovery. So you don't have to focus that extra thing. And I probably would make it more of a controlled evasion as a more designed mechanic that is specific to that class. But alas, that takes a lot more. Now you get into things like Path of Exile, and they borrow these mechanics or reuse these mechanics. And so evasion in Path of Exile is the armor formula. But evasion is on... I think it's literally the armor formula of Diablo 2. I think it's the exact same thing. Or really, really similar with some extra modifiers in the math. But now armor is damage reduction. The heavy armors are damage reduction, whereas in the evasion armors work like Diablo 2, which is kind of interesting because it's backwards, where armors in Diablo 2 were technically a form of evasion, don't get me wrong. But they would just function differently. It still makes sense, though. I'm not trying to criticize other designers and what they've done here. Path of Exile is a very beloved game by many. I'm not trying to say it's bad because of this. I'm just saying it's different. So in Diablo 2, a lot of these effects, let's go to the Sorceress and Energy Shield. Energy Shield was an offset. It was a way to avoid a lot of the systems in the game. Now, it existed as Mana Shield in the first game. Not sure why they renamed it. I'm pretty sure they renamed it. I'm just going to see where I can get here. Ooh. We got a big guy and a lot of friends. Let's see here. Put multi-shot there. Let's put fire arrow there. I don't have any more mana. That's all I can do. Oh, this is dangerous. I don't like this at all. I'm just gonna run away. And we're just gonna keep running. Yeah, that might be a bad idea. At least it's not a hardcore character. Walking doesn't give any benefit in my mod. Well, it does give block benefit, but it doesn't give armor benefit. Again, I felt like melee characters were already weak enough. Run, run, run! If I can just get to the, it's not the cathedral, what is it called? Monastery? Then I can, not have to worry about certain things here. I can come back later. So energy shield, going back to that whole topic. Energy shield in, say, the Path of Exile, it's not based on your mana, it's based on your equipment. And so one of the benefits of Diablo 2's Sorceress was that she didn't need a lot of equipment to be very valuable. And energy shield was one of those things because you got energy from leveling up. Or you could get energy from leveling up. So in Path of Exile, this becomes an equipment lock, whereas in Diablo 2, it was not an equipment lock per se. And I say this because I've experienced it. Like I said, I like Path of Exile. I'm not trying to diminish its design. I'm just trying to say how, like, the choices affect the outcome. So the choices in Diablo 2 for Energy Shield, for example, was that the outcome is that you were able to trade some of your defense for a different form of defense, and you could wear lighter armor, whereas in Path of Exile, your Energy Shield comes from your equipment. Your armor gives you that. You're not getting a second chance at not being hit or something like that and taking it to your energy, because you're not rolling the defense unless you're running, say, Energy Shield and Evasion in Path of Exile. Again, both of those still come from your equipment. You get bonuses elsewhere, but those still come from your equipment. So, just kind of how it is. But this is something that I think is a really cool design that Diablo 2 made a lot of function in, a lot of depth in it, if you will. None of this is any useful. That's not even magical. I don't even know if I care. I had to think about it, though. Definitely not. And damage reduced by 1. I don't care for the light radius, so I'm just going to simplify my mind. And we'll just sell that. Then you go over to the Assassin. The Assassin has Claw Block. Now, traditionally, Claw Block, Weapon Block in that game, then also does not have any dexterity requirements. So you don't need dexterity to block, because they added that later. You don't need a dexterity to increase your block rate, so the Assassin is now able to ignore the dexterity requirements of block. Except for, of course, the Assassin is a very dexterity-heavy character, so I'm not sure how that benefits. But the system is there, is kind of the point. Now, I have actually added the dexterity requirement back in via the skill itself. So it does its own math based on what I understand to be the math of the skill. Because as an assassin, you probably should have pretty high dexterity, and you should have some form of requirement on each class for some stats that are not just health. And that's not exactly a heavy requirement on a character that's already primarily dexterity, probably. In a lot of sense, at least. Then you get over to the sorceress. She has the option of using ice armor, as well as energy shield, things like that, which increases the chance of just simply not being hit again. Ice armor, in general, has been reused over and over in other games, as well as other Diablo-likes and Diablo itself. Yeah, go fight her. I don't do the damage that I need to here. Whew. Previous run, that was a lot easier because I had like a really good crossbow. But this time, not so much. Oh, I can't equip it. I would make that equipable. Anyways. Barbarians have a lot of different ways to deal with health and mana management, as well as the, of course, natural resistances and stone skin effects already kind of referenced there. And then things like this. Stone skin is a percentage bonus, so it encourages you to actually equip armor, whereas in natural resistances is not a percentage bonus on a base-dependent stat. Let's just go home. Do I have Stony Field? I do have Stony Field. I actually have to go to Akara before I can actually use it. I cannot read the magical glyphs. I am illiterate. The druid has just like a lot of health regen and high health as well. So that's kind of their offset. They play differently, whether they're bear or wolf or using vines. So you've got a lot of different regen effects there. And we see these effects in other games all over the place. So Griswold, I'm sorry, but the little bit of ice damage I do is just going to immediately wreck you because you're so slow. Well, as long as I have mana. I don't do a whole lot of damage with my main attack. I've aggroed way too many things here. The Necromancer has things like golems to tank for him. The Amazon also has the Valkyrie and the Decoy. I like these effects because, again, they offset the mechanics that already exist. Let's see here. The Paladin has shields and auras, so you've got a lot of value in the shields. And just focusing on that block chance and things like that. It's a basic effect that already exists, but they are able to do quite a bit. Does he have teleport? He does. I didn't realize they could have teleport that early. Man, that'd be funny. Put teleport on Griswold. I don't know if I can guarantee that, but... That would be really slow, but he just teleports behind you. My damage is garbage. But the Paladin has, like, Holy Shield, which even further buffs, like, defense and block chance. So it just doubles down in kind of that already very focused stuff. So it doesn't have a significant offset in the same sense that other classes do. But the Necromancer has like golems to tank, but it also has Blood Golem to heal. Wow, you dropped nothing? Really? How disappointing. I just not hit them very good? 90%. I need a lot more dexterity. I'm coming, Kane. I'm coming to help.
Deckard Cain, go to the rogue's camp without delay.
Run, Deckard Cain, run.
I need mana.
One of the big things about this is the fact that all these values are very skill-oriented, as in level ups, versus being just entirely equipment-based. I personally very much prefer the idea of being able to offset equipment with skills instead of just simply all skills always being dependent on equipment. So always giving, 30 defense, 30% defense versus 30 defense or something like that. I should make this gold drop a lot higher. I think that'd be cool. I don't know how to do that. I'd have to find Wirt's drop. It's probably just in the treasure class file. Anyway, on a different subject regarding something like Wirt and the drop table, I really enjoy the idea and structure of giving the player big boons at once, and allowing them having ups and downs to their playthrough. And wow, that sucks. That is the worst rare I've seen so far. Poison damage, poison resist, and -2 stats.
Good day.
I wonder if it sells for much. It's supposed to have, I think, the gold value when it rolls negatives, but I don't remember how that works. Or if it works. Anyways. But having big, chunky moments of both pain and pleasure, so to say, in a game, I think makes it all that much more exciting. It's an exhilaration effect where... Can I find literally anything better than this bow? Not really. Cold damage is good, but... I need a helmet. I'm gonna get for a helmet. Just get the Helmet of Vitality. And, ooh. Other Armor of Vitality. And I don't actually care about a lot of that, so I'm just going to go for extra gold. Go for the gold. But having this roller coaster, not everything in the game needs to be an uphill or downhill. Not everything in the game should be scaling at the same pace. And so it's not uncommon for, say, damage to outscale defense in certain ways in games, because you need to eventually catch up. And same thing with like health and whatever else bonuses. So I think it's good to give players a goal, a threshold, a point of interest. And I think that's really a fun way to design games. And some games aren't really intended to be designed that way, but I think it's more fun to me, and I think it's more fun, maybe even on average, to have this roller coaster effect where you have a big hard boss that gives you a nice reward, or a secret quest that gives you something, the side utility value, such as like just, Wirt's leg there. The secret cow level is silly, but super fun. I've spent many hours back in my younger years playing secret cow levels, farming for items and things like that. So, but even Wirt's gold, having this moment in the game where, let's see how poor I am. I'm not very poor. I probably should adjust the gold formula that I've tinkered with. I think it's like 2.5 times, so like 150% extra gold, base gold from all drops up to like level 7 or something. And I don't know what Tristram is, but So I may want to increase that for like just the first few levels up to like the cold plains or something so that you can get your first 1,000 gold. But after that, you're still starving. I'm not buying potions. Potions are dropping pretty regularly. I probably should make it more common to have to buy potions. These costs are pretty low. They probably should be higher. But that creates also the selling value. They're only worth 12 to sell. And I have another point where I can actually go into a passive avoid. So that's it for this video. This will be, again, a backdrop to the channel where I just kind of talk about different mechanics in Diablo 2, things like Dota, things like Path of Exile, as best as I know them. I'm not a Path of Exile expert. I've already misquoted a couple things in a previous video on that. And just kind of talking about these kind of things. And then I'm going to have some game reviews and some Salt and Sanctuary related stuff here and there as it needs to be, or as I plan it to be, I should say. So, but this will be run number 2 on the mod, and it's been heavily updated since the last time. So we'll see where we get, and I'll probably just go to the end of normal difficulty. I'm not going to go into Nightmare, and we're not going to go into the super late game stuff, which is one of the reasons why the level ups are a little bit adjusted here. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, make a comment. Hopefully you enjoyed my ramblings and musings on some of the game mechanics and their pros and cons and their after effects in how they trade off with different systems. So again, until next time, see you then.